Hey everybody, it's Matthew Dibler here. I just had to run out and do a quick errand, and um, I felt inspired to share something. And so, what I've decided I'd like to do today is give you an inside look at the agoraphobic mind, because I don't think a lot of people understand it. I mean, most people probably don't even understand what agoraphobia is. I think by definition, it's like this fear of outside places. I'm not sure that that really describes it all that well. For me, agoraphobia came into play, and this is back in 2011, when my anxiety and panic disorder got so extreme that I began to fear leaving my comfort zone, which my comfort zone was my, one bedroom, one den apartment. I began to fear leaving my comfort zone because when I was out in public, I had this overwhelming anxiety and sense of dread that something terrible could happen at any point in time. I could have a nervous breakdown. I could lose all control. They'd send me to the hospital. Um, I was so fearful that my mind was at that stage of vulnerability that I could essentially collapse mentally at any point in time. And so the fear of that experience, or, you know, experience that had played out in my head of this breakdown, was just devastating. Because months earlier, I had an experience that felt like a nervous breakdown. I was in the car, I was driving, and I had to pull off the road. And I'll be honest with you, for, I don't know, 30 minutes, it felt like I lost all control. It was like a panic attack, but in a much more severe sense, and it went on for quite some time. Whereas a panic attack, it's very severe, but it leaves you relatively quickly. You can usually get through it within a minute or two. I mean, you might still feel the effects of it, but the overwhelming jolt of panic comes and goes pretty quickly. This was something on a completely different level, and I couldn't even put a sentence together. Um, I felt like I was seriously going to, I don't know, lose my mind and not ever recover. So I had that experience, and then the more traumatic anxiety began to set in. I started to have more panic attacks more frequently, and so I become agoraphobic. And what agoraphobic um, circumstances caused me to do was to modify all of my behaviors to accommodate them. And so to get anything accomplished was a really extraordinary feat. It started like with, I could be at the grocery store and there would be a line of people at a cash register, and I'd be standing in that line, and all of a sudden, those thoughts would race through my mind that I'm going to lose it. I can't be here much longer. And the anxiety would, feed off of that. And I'd feel this panic coming on. And I'd bolt, leave the stuff that I had brought with me. And I'd escape, go back to my place of comfort. Um, Over time, it got more devastating. It got to the point where going to the mailbox, taking out the trash, and taking out the trash at the time, I was living in an apartment complex. I literally had to walk down the hall. I didn't even have to go outside. I walked down the hall and sent it down a trash chute. But at the time, I really, leaving the threshold of my apartment was just a monumental task. And I did a lot of things to overcome that in time, but it was an inch by inch, step by step type of process to win back my life. But anyway, one of the things that I wanted to talk about today, because I'm sitting here outside of a CVS pharmacy, and it reminded me of this experience, or several experiences that I had when I was in that devastating frame of mind. There was a Rite Aid pharmacy. I was living in Wyomissing, Pennsylvania, and there was a Rite Aid pharmacy about less than a mile from my apartment, maybe a half mile. And that's where I went to do my shopping, and not just, for like laundry detergent and things of that nature, but I went there to get food. And they didn't have a whole lot. They had a tiny little refrigerated section. They had kind of like the snack aisle and some of the meal in a box types of things. But I only felt comfortable there because the grocery store was overwhelming. The grocery store wasn't far away. It was like maybe 3 miles down the road, but that was a longer trip. This was easy to get to. I didn't really have to confront any red lights, because red lights gave me anxiety too. If I had to sit too long, I felt overwhelmed. It was an easy path there. And so when I went in and gathered up my things, I'll never forget this woman that I encountered at the cash register. She was an older lady, but was always so kind to me. And when I would approach her, my throat would literally be closing up, because when I was in there, it was like, get the things and get out of here. Get back to comfort. My throat would like seize up. Like I couldn't breathe. Like somebody was, squeezing on that and standing on my chest at the same time. I was in a hurry. But she always dealt with me with such kindness that it slowed me down a little bit, and I felt a comfort in her presence, and it helped me to survive. And so I continued to go back there, out of convenience, because it, was accommodating as far as like what I needed at that time in my life. But I also went back because I looked for her. I looked for this angel that God put in my life to help me through a difficult time. And what I wanted to say is, a lot of people would, look at a cashier as insignificant. They would look at that role as just, a 9-to-5, low-paying wage job. And what I'm here to tell you is everybody's role is significant. I don't care what you do for a living. I don't care if you're just a stay-at-home mother. If you have influence over the lives of other people, you can make a huge impact. This woman had no idea what kind of effect she was having on me in those moments that we, connected with one another. But she was saving my life. She was ensuring that I got the things that I needed and I got to see another day. She was sustaining me until the point in time that I could have my breakthrough. And you may be doing that for someone right now. It may be your child, it may be a colleague, it may be a friend. But I want to encourage you to take the time to be kind. Look for opportunities to smile at people, to have a conversation, to make someone laugh, to just give them a moment of your love and support, because you can't imagine what that may do for them. You can't necessarily see what they're suffering with underneath it all, but you may be saving their life. I love you all. God bless.